So I'm having a chat with Simon of Kaiser Chiefs. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. So we've been playing a new single of yours called Burning in Flames. Tell us a little bit about the single, first of all.
So sort of like we made this album and we were trying to do a lot of different things. Or I don't know if we actually tried. We ended up doing like loads and loads of different styles of stuff. So I think people have heard like How to Dance is a bit more like funk and disco, and then there's some more sort of traditional Kaiser Chiefs stuff on the record. But Burning in Flames, we sort of tried like we wrote it and it sounded good. It's like a nice song, but it felt like it, like needed something extra, which was the strings, I think. So we sent it to like this guy, David Arnold. He's like a famous, what do you call it, arranger, and he's done lots of movies. He used to do the James Bond movies. I don't know if he still does. And he did, and he has had a solo career, like had singles as well and stuff. He's a producer. Anyway, he did the strings, and sorry, it's getting very complicated there. He did the strings and added them to the top, and I think like the whole point was to make this sort of like big, movie soundtrack ending credits kind of song, about it's about kind of being in a band and sort of sometimes you want to throw it all away. Then sometimes you realize that it's what you love the most. So, it's kind of like quite apt for us now. We've been in the Kaiser Chiefs for 20 years. So, it's been you sometimes have some moments of doubt.
We'll get onto those 20 years a bit later on, but let's talk about your new record, which is out on March the 1st, called Kaiser Chiefs Easy, eighth album. How easy was it?
It was quite easy in a way. The whole thing was we were kind of manifesting a little bit of like when we make a record, often it's very stressful and you're kind of tearing your hair out and all that stuff. And we were like, why does it need to be this difficult? Like I think because of COVID, like after we were coming out of COVID when we first started making the record, and that had made everyone, I think, feel a little bit like, especially musicians, where we sort of there was one email from our manager in COVID, which was basically like, you might never do a gig again, which seems a little over dramatic at this
Mm.
point, right? But I guess at that time it felt like realistic. So when you've had that situation, I think just sort of trying to enjoy it and like really loads of really corny things like not worrying about what other people think and just doing what you want and all that stuff, became sort of important. And I think it came on that sort of drifted onto the record. And yeah, part of that is so part of the Easy Eight thing was like it was not a joke, but kind of like if the second album is difficult, why can't the eighth one be easy? Then also as a sort of statement of like, let's try and make it easy. So not getting too stressed about decisions, not arguing too much, just sort of like trying to listen to other people as well. So like this guy Amir Amor, he was the producer, sort of like we gave him a little bit of like probably a little bit more control than we would usually give producers in terms of like we would send him loads of songs and we'd be like, which ones do you think are the best ones? Which ones do you think should be on the album? Stuff like that, which is unusual for us. Usually we would be like very, very like hands on about every single decision. So yeah, we just tried to like, we're a little bit older, try to
Yeah.
just sort of take it easy a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll be getting the chance to play these tracks live when you head out on tour in April. I bet you can't wait to be on the road again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We've actually got some how many are there? Four gigs this week starting tomorrow. We're doing some in stores, but they're not in record shops anymore. They're in venues. And so yeah, tomorrow get to play some music again, which I'm really looking forward to because this has been like the longest gap between Kaiser Chiefs records, 2019 to
Mm.
2024. So that's a long time. But also we haven't played together music for quite a lot of months. I think it was probably September, I think, when we last did a gig. That's a really long time for us. That's like a surprisingly big gap. So obviously we've been rehearsing, obviously, but in terms of with an audience, so yeah, it'd be great to get back to it, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll be heading into festival season. You got a few booked in. Are you planning on having a busy festival summer?
We actually like this year. We've got a few things booked in. We're not going too crazy this year because of well various things, including we've done every summer for like about 20 years. But we've got big plans for 2025, which haven't been announced yet. So we are just sort of doing like promoting the album, doing some gigs, but we're not like really like I don't say I was gonna say milking it, but really like pushing it. I don't know what the right
Mm.
word would be, because we want to sort of have a big year next year.
Sounds good to me. Are you hoping to head overseas as well into Europe and over to the States?
Yeah, we'll go to Europe, I think, a little bit. America might wait till 2025. Like, I've been doing lots of interviews, obviously, for the album, and everybody from like Australia or Brazil or
Yeah.
Japan or everywhere wants to know when are you coming? And my kind of stock answer is we'll be there next year. So hopefully we won't disappoint too many people.
Nice. Sounds good to me. And you touched on 20 years in the band now. How has the music and how have you evolved over the years?
It's a really good question. I think like it's almost a question for someone from the outside to answer, but I think we, I think there's definitely like a couple of periods of Kaisers. Like there's the early period where I guess we were just sort of getting going, and like all the songs we wrote were for live. Like we would be in the rehearsal room and we'd be like, done a gig last night. And we'd be like, okay, we need to write a song for the middle of the set that's upbeat and that everyone can get straight away. So that's like kind of where Na 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 or something came along. Um, and then there was a period like with the fourth album, you sort of make your own album where I think we got a little bit lost and we didn't really know exactly what to do. And that album I think is really interesting, but it's like a bit unfinished maybe.
Mm.
And then there was sort of a new Kaiser Chiefs when Nick left with Education and War. That was sort of like reclaiming, I guess, Kaisers. I think that's what the album kind of represents, like just starting again a little bit. And then since then, I think we've been trying to just sort of make interesting albums and do interesting things and work with different interesting people to keep, make it interesting for us, make it interesting for the people who are listening. Obviously, the world's changing as well with like CDs not exist. Well, they exist, but no one listens to CDs, right? Everyone's streaming, and maybe radio is different, and playlisting is different. So there's a lot of different sort of things floating around. So we've always just tried to sort of run with the punches, if you know what I mean, and try and like work out how to make sure that the most people can listen to Kaiser Chiefs. And yeah, I think with this record though, I think we tried with Stay Together, which was the album in 2016. We sort of decided to make a pop album and do it with like a producer, like a pop producer. Um, and I think some of the songs in that album are really good. Like "Holding My Soul's" good, and "Parachute" and some of the songs are good. But like I never loved the production. Like I thought like if I could do it again, I would try it just to get some slightly different production, different mixing or whatever. But with this album, I feel like we've done something really like we've been trying to do, which is sort of make an album that sounds it's got Kaiser Chiefs DNA, but
Mm.
then it sounds more modern. Like it sounds not like it doesn't sound like it was made in 2005. It sounds like it was made in like 2023 or whenever it was made. So I'm really pleased with that.
Yeah, I can well imagine. And with the writing side of things, how do tracks normally start off for you guys?
It all depends, really. This album's been an interesting album because of working with Amir and like some remote, like I think it's kind of modern, but like more remote working. So like we would be like sending things on email to
Mm.
people, or we transferring tracks and recordings. Like even like stuff like the studio, we did some stuff in a proper studio, but then some stuff we just recorded in our rehearsal room and then sent it over to Amir to like produce. So it's been interesting, but songwriting wise, some stuff like Another Reason, Stay Alive, and No Groove, and Feeling All Right. They just started with us jamming in Leeds in our rehearsal room. Other songs, like Burning in Flames and stuff, a lot more. What's the word? Like in a started being a studio, being a mere studio or another studio, and like have an idea and then just build up from that, and then like almost playing it as a band is a secondary thing. Like you sort of write the song and then you work out how you're going to play it as a band. So yeah, again with just sort of time passing and developing and people being in different locations as well and all that stuff, just trying to adapt and trying to do things in different ways. I think like it's just part of being in a band or part of being an artist is you try different things and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And sometimes you get co-writers in as well. On this record, you've obviously got Nile Rodgers on as well, who co-wrote your track "Feeling Alright." How does that work in terms of writing and getting tracks sorted?
Well, the Nile one's sort of a bad example because really that song was pretty written, but we just took it. We went in the studio with him. We messed around with some arrangements, some chords and stuff, but like the sort of basics of the track was done. Whereas "Beautiful Girls" more of a song where we went. Ian Archer is a guy we've written with him before on Duck, and he's written some songs like he did some Snow Patrol stuff, but he also did lots of, I want to say George Ezra, but I think that's wrong. Anyway, he's a great guy. We've worked with him, and he's like a, just in terms of ideas, he's a really good guy to work with. But that was that was more of a matter of me and Ricky going to his place in Brighton, and then just sort of having some ideas with him, jamming with him, and then coming out with like some words and some chords, and then taking it back up to Leeds, and then sort of fleshing it out into what it becomes. So I think when you've been in a band for 20 years, sometimes you need a little nudge sometimes about like getting started. But all those experiences are always good, and always like going back to Education and War. We worked with Fraser T. Smith. That to me was one of the best writing experiences ever, because it was the first time he told me the way I wrote, if you know what I mean, or the way that Kaiser Chiefs write. So he told me some of my own tricks, and I was like, "All right, I didn't know," but it helped me in the future. Do you know what I mean? It was a weird sort of like we wrote a song, but he also taught me some stuff about myself, a bit like therapy.
Nice, nice. Simon, it's been a pleasure having a catch up with you.
Nice one. See you soon.